fourth talk of the Green Years Meet the Directors. So we are here with 5 filmmakers of the Green Years section of Doclisboa. Doclisboa has this year expanded its format in 2 dimensions. So we expanded the format in our physical part. So we're going to take place from October 2020 to March 2021, and we also expanded the festival to the online realm. And so under Nebula, which is our space dedicated to film professionals, we're having a lot of activities, a lot of places online places to meet and together and to create dialogue over the films that we're presenting, and this conversation falls within that context. And we also have a program online, which is the Green Years, and Green Years has been a program within Doclisboa that has been very dear to the festival. It's a place where we introduce young filmmakers to a wider audience, and first-time filmmakers, but also like films done within school context. And in this edition of the festival, we have dedicated Green Years to films produced in European schools. And so we have 5 films that were produced in film context. And that's important because we are also going to, besides talking about the films and the approach to each of the films, we're also going to talk a bit about the different production contexts and a bit about also the future, because we have filmmakers that are taking their first steps, and we want to also talk a bit about that. So yeah. The films that are available on the deifilms.com platform, they are geo-blocked to Portugal, so everybody that is within Portugal can watch them. I'm going to be aware if anyone has commentaries, because this conversation is being live streamed on Facebook of the Doclisboa. So I'm going to open that, so everybody that has any audience members that have any question or want to comment anything, I'm going to be aware of that, and I can pose the question at the final stretch of our conversation. And so I have with me 5 filmmakers. Elettra Bisogno, that is presenting her film Old Child, welcome. Gerrit Kuge, that is presenting Der Tod meiner Mutter, thank you, welcome. Ginou Choueiri, of Rhythm of Forgetting, hello. And I think, I don't know if Mário is already with us. Yes, Mário, hey. Mário Veloso with Rio Torto, and Theo Panagopoulos with my own personal Lebanon. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here. I know this is not ideal, ideal would be have you all together physically in Lisbon so we could talk and watch films together. But it's also, I mean, a nice way to find this solution that within this context we can share ideas and connect in some sort of way. So I'm very grateful that you took your time to connect us in this way and to talk about your films and your way of filmmaking. Yeah, so to kickstart, I would probably ask for each of you to briefly introduce yourself, your start in filmmaking, but also to briefly introduce your films, each of your films, so the public can get to, if they didn't watch them already, to get to know a bit of the. So maybe we can start with Elettra.
Okay, so hi everyone. I'm Electra. I'm Italian, but I live since already 3 years in Brussels. I studied more graphic design before. I was more in the stocked image, and then I developed to the moving image. One occasion made me realize that I really like to film, and it was a very direct way to tell a story or a reality that I encountered. So yeah, I did one short film before, and this one that I'm presenting now to Doclisboa, it's Old Child. It's also an encounter that I thought it was a good story to tell and to share. It's when I met 2 years ago Hazem, who is now my boyfriend, by the way. But yeah, he's from Gaza, and he's a young boy, and I was super curious about his story and his way to arrive to Europe. What were his feelings? What were and all actually all the time that he was telling me stories, I could directly see a movie inside my mind, and then we started little by little to film, both of us, him and I, and then yeah, since I was doing the school last year, I ended up editing some part and doing this short film. But the project is still ongoing, and let's see where it goes. I don't know, but yeah, that's a short part.
Okay, thank you. And now Gerrit.
Yeah, I'm Gerrit. I'm from Germany. I live in Germany. I studied media art, and it wasn't like defined film studies, but I kind of leaned towards film always. And so there was this scriptwriter professor, Razvan Radulescu, coming to our school, and he kind of took me by the hand, and we had many discussions and many meetings, and that's how I really got into making films. And The Death of My Mother is my graduation film. I graduated last year, and well, basically it's basically the title says everything about the film. It's a kind of a shadowy, dark, miserable film. Yeah. Now I wanna do a less miserable film, which I'm just preparing right now.
Okay, Ginou.
Hi, and first of all, thank you, Joana and Doclisboa. It's really a pleasure to be here and to be with all these really cool filmmakers. I'm Gino Choueiri. I'm from Lebanon. So my background is in visual arts. I started through painting, and I slowly wanted to move to film because I felt that through the medium of painting, I wasn't able to really explore my outer world. All my paintings were very much like inner landscapes and inner, very, very kind of lonely in a way. And there was a lot going on around me that I felt I wanted to explore. So my going into film was to try to go into both, kind of connect both worlds, the inner and the outer. And so Rhythm of Forgetting is my film for my master's at Goldsmith. So it was for artist film and moving image. And it's about my past in Lebanon. So I was born during the Civil War, and I left when I was 13, and we moved to the US with my family. And so the film really is a mosaic of different testimonies that I gathered through some old archives of audio cassette tapes that my friends and cousins would send me while I was living there. It was a way to communicate. Phones were down, and it was hard to even travel. So it was whenever someone would leave Lebanon or go to Lebanon, we would send these 1-hour cassette tapes, and that's how we kind of kept in touch. And I had kept all of those tapes, and And also I talked to my aunts, who just gave me also some of their memories from the war. And so it's really a kind of a displaced look from my end, having been outside, and what that meant going back, and kind of combining all of these different fragments, which are basically fragments of memories related to that time.
Thank you. And Mário? Hey.
Hi, thank you, Doclisboa, for the invitation. I'm really glad being here talking to all of you. So my name is Mário. I just finished film school, and the film that I'm presenting this year at Doclisboa is the same film that I presented last year, which is a film that I made in my second year in the film school. We had to make a documentary, so I had all those stories that my grandmother told me when I was a child in my head, and I wanted to do something about that. So I decided to use the opportunity to make a documentary to get that material and to get to those stories. And that's what I made. It's a film made with friends and family, with a really short crew. And that's it, I think.
Okay, thank you. And Theo.
Hello, I'm Theo Panagopoulos. I'm originally from Athens, Greece, but my mother is from Lebanon. And I just, this past May, I graduated from Edinburgh College of Art, which was on documentary directing. And as my graduate thesis film, I directed my own personal Lebanon. In the film, I am trying to discover my mother's secret stories of her life in the Lebanese civil war, because I felt that I didn't have the connection with the country. I felt like I was very isolated from my mother's side of the family emotionally. So I wanted to understand where that feeling came from. And I felt that it came from the lack of knowledge that I had about her past. So that's what I'm trying to explore through the film.
Okay, thank you, everybody. So I challenged you to send me an image or a photo or a text that in some sort of way you connected to the film. Yeah, so we could like kickstart the conversation in a more fluid way. I'm gonna now like start like going through each of them. So I'm gonna share my. Okay.
Whoa.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So this one is Eugeno.
Yes.
You send me a text and an image. I combined them so we could like see them together. Yeah, could you tell me a bit more about this text and the image that it shows?
Sure. I mean, the text is basically something I just wanted to write about my way of seeing memories, or my approach to how I wanted to try to capture this or to portray this through moving image, basically. And so I mean, I had, even though I did have these archives and I had these testimonies, but in terms of actually going out around Lebanon and how I wanted to try to convey this was a very intuitive process. What I wanted to do is have the camera lead me. I didn't have particular plan or, you know, these specific ideas. What I wanted is to let them arise. And so my approach was more, I was interested in how the camera could be a medium itself, could channel or help channel certain things to come out, whether in physical landscapes or whether to give sort of metaphors of inner landscapes of what's happening, where those memories are inside of us. So a lot of it was through wandering around different parts of Lebanon, just kind of traveling and trying to see what caught my attention, and how that later became something that was used, layered with the audio. But in the moment I was doing this, I didn't have the audio yet. I didn't know I was going to use the archive. So I was really just intuitively trying to see where I was being led and how and what wanted to come out. So whether these were traces or ruins of the past, or whether these were kind of playful improvisations that I did with friends who participated. So, you know, using some a bit how I approach painting, but you know, which is playing with constructing kind of these dreamlike scenarios. Mm-hmm. So, for example, in this picture, it was my friend's daughter's birthday, and I asked if I could film. So I actually went and I had seen on these big sunflowers, and I just decided to just bring them with me. And then within, you know, like a very short time, I was able to get the children to focus with me for 10 minutes, and I gave them this and these flowers, and then that became sort of one of the dreamlike sequences that I use at the opening scene in the film.
That's interesting that you're saying that the audio of the tapes just got into the process later.
Yes.
So you, because then in the film they kind of like they structure it so like they have so much power that when did they come into the process? When did you decide to use them?
The last. I mean, I thought I was going to use them for another film. So I did have when I took 2 tapes back with me to London after I left Lebanon. I didn't take the whole box. I just took 2, just saying, let me start with the process. Maybe I'll use something. But for some reason, I thought because I had a whole box that I would leave that for a completely different film. So I was trying to avoid going to these tapes, but then I realized that they really brought the film together. And so it was really if you want, like my degree show was on the 18th, so it was maybe like 2-3 weeks before that I finally included the audio cassette tapes.
But why did you have so much reservations about using them?
Because I had thought that I had an idea for a film that I wanted to do specifically for the cassette tapes. And because I have about 30 cassette tapes, so I really wanted to go through them. I hadn't had the chance to. So when I went back to Lebanon and I was filming, I had a scene, you know, I did go through my kind of coffre, you know, where I had all my pictures and these tapes. And so that, you know, I did kind of record a part of me going through them. But since I only took 2 back to London, I thought, you know, this is just to start the process for the next film. And the reason was, to be honest, was just because it came at the end in the sense of this. I thought I was going to do something else with this film initially. So it kind of, like I said, it just took me where it wanted to go. I had a bit of certain ideas that just kind of fell, and it went into that direction towards the end.
It's very interesting, that process, because personally, when I was watching the film and when the letters came into play, I also felt that the film itself was a kind of a correspondence. You know, like of course you build upon a more like subjective, dreamlike, but it felt that the film itself, it responded to the tapes in some sort of way, in some sort of like building new dimensions that maybe at the time when the tapes were made, the reflections or the thoughts were not there. Is that something that resonates, this interpretation of the film? Or
if I understand you correctly, Go ahead. No.
So your films also like in some sort of way a correspondence. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it wasn't intentional. Like I said, everything I filmed was very much an intuitive process, which is a construction. Sometimes when I talk about the dreamlike sequences, that was improvised. They were just kind of these kind of glimmering images in my head that then I wanted to, then I, allowed to take shape. And then the tape, and then somehow synchronistically, when I layered the tapes, I felt that they were they corresponded very well together. But it was not in my plan or thinking initially when I did it.
So initially, maybe you were thinking of these sequences of dreamlike without having any audio connecting them.
I didn't think of the tapes connecting them. I didn't think of what would connect them. I just knew that I wanted to make these. And since for me, the construction of whether it's a painting or a film is very intuitive, and it's layered through experimentation and exploration. So I tried different things. I mean, before getting to the tapes, I had different audio, I had an essay sort of film. I had sort of a fictive narrative that I made up. I tried different ways, and then I kind of realized that when I tried the tapes that worked the best for me, and it was almost made for each other somehow. So then that's kind of how it got there.
Good.
I'm going to move forward with the materials, but I'm going to go back to yours actually to talk about a sentence that you have that I think it also resonates with the other films. And then I want to open the dialogue over it. So the next one is Mário. This is the image that you chose.
So it was very hard for me to try to choose an image that I related to the film because there were so many inspirations and so many references that I had. But I also felt that everything that I chose would be very vague in the way that I could relate it to the film. So I chose these photos because they were actually the beginning of the film and the beginning of the production of Rio Torto. So what I would like to say is tell a bit the story of these pictures and how they got me to the film. So this was those photos were shot for a class that I had in school, an image class. So I didn't really know what to do, so I decided to go to this place where I knew my grandmother had worked when she was a child to help her father. So I went there with my grandmother and my cousin, and I took some pictures. And then my grandmother started to tell all those stories that I remembered from when I was a child. So all those stories came to the surface again, and I started to think about them again. And I really wanted to do something about it. And that was it. When I shot those pictures, we had almost no light. It was a very dark day, so I had to improvise something so the camera could see the things that I was shooting. And this was really improvised, but something in the light made me feel that it was like almost a dream or a memory. The things that I was shooting. And everything started to come together, the memories of my grandmother, the visuals of that place. And then there was the river outside that I knew all my life as a polluted river and a destroyed river. And everything came together, and I decided that I wanted to do something about it. And when the opportunity came to make a documentary, I came back to these photos, and I started to think how I would light the film, how I would frame the film, what people I wanted to put in the film. and that was it. That's why I chose this image. It's very practical. It's a very practical choice.
You in the film, it's very interesting that you're saying that the river, it was very polluted, or you feel it was destroyed, because in Rio Torto, in the film, it seems very idyllic, very beautiful, very nice. So you were trying to, you reconstructed this memory that of something that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, that was the idea, and that's what came up to me when I made these pictures that you are seeing now. It's because in the memory of the people that I talked to, that was still a very nice place in their memories. It was a very good place, a place of happiness, a place where they had their childhood memories, family memories, and it was very sad that when they talked about how the river is now. So the idea of the film was like trying to create a contrast inside the frame, where you see something that is very idyllic because of the way it's framed and the way the light is in the picture. But at the same time, those images are like, they have a polluted river in the picture that seems so idyllic. There's something that isn't right, and I think that becomes more clear as the film progresses, because I think in the beginning you could almost not see that the river is polluted, but at the end I think it's more obvious, or so I hope so. And that was it. That was the main idea, to make a contrast, and because there's this thing about memory where everything seems more beautiful than it actually was. So I think the film is based on this idea, because the people are very nostalgic talking about things. So I felt that I had to make everything beautiful and idyllic without hiding the river.
And how did you work with the people that entered the film and they reenact these gestures that I suppose they don't do anymore?
Yeah.
How was it to work with them? Did they, in the process of doing the film, also remembered stuff that they probably had forgotten?
Yeah. So there's one person that still works in the mills. That's the first person that shows up in the film. The others, they don't work there anymore. They don't actually work there since they were children, because they work there helping their parents, not as their actual job later. So it was a very funny process, because some of them, when I decided what to tell them to do, some of them became very nostalgic, but some of them really hated what they were doing. So what I did in this film was very rational, and the film was very structured, because our school is a fiction school, and even when we make documentaries, we are supposed to have a screenwriter to help us structure the film before we go shoot it. So I really had planned what I was going to tell each of them to do. So first I filmed them doing those tasks, and after the task, I would go to them I would go with them to a closed space and ask them what memories came up to them when they were doing the things they were doing. And they started to tell stories, and they were like 1 hour talking and telling stories. So I think it was very beautiful, because I knew all of them, but I didn't know those stories. Only my grandmother's stories. The other people's stories I have never heard. And some stories were really, really interesting, and it was very hard to choose what to put in the film and what to take out. And that was it.
In the film, they take this stance like if there could be ghosts like inhabiting that place, like if it's like a place that is sort of like stuck in sort of a limbo, you know, like in between state. Because it's not a direct like, okay, people tell their memories and then you construct some. It's really like you build this layer of that, yeah, of uncertainty. Like you don't know if because sometimes it seems like that maybe the people might not have actually done it, you know, like could sometimes I see them like as ghosts of this idea of the countryside, you know, of the Portuguese countryside, you know.
No, that's very interesting, because ghost is actually a word that I thought a lot during the process of making the film, because when I decided that I was going to put people in those places that are destroyed and are really just ruins, doing things that they would do if they were working in actual places. I thought that maybe they could seem ghosts in a forgotten space, something that was stuck there. But I never thought that maybe maybe people wouldn't understand if they actually had done it before or not, because the way I thought it, the way I imagined it, they were ghosts from a past life, from another way of life that inhabited the spaces as they are now, destroyed and ruins, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it was sometimes I felt it, but it's but more strongly, yeah, I felt that they were, yeah, ghosts stuck there, basically, in this sort of like purgatory in the Portuguese countryside. I'm gonna pass to the next image or text. Yeah, Theo.
So this is a painting by Agnes Toth, and I discovered her during my post-production process of the film. And I felt her kind of paintings represented the feeling I felt in the beginning of the film. So it was the first time I could really see how I felt. And I think it really informed also the structure I decided to take. The thing that I like about her paintings is the space between the fragments rather than the fragments themselves. And I think that's what I was trying to explore during the film, that kind of space that I don't understand. So I think, yes, it gave me, it was very emotionally evocative in a way. And I wanted to structure the film in a way of having a fragmented kind of feeling and having different elements that are kind of stitched together, both in the visuals and the sound. So I would have more observational discussions with my mother, and then I would have more constructed elements such as the installations in the street of Athens, the installations of her objects of her past house in Beirut. And also would have the three languages as well. So I felt the painting kind of encapsulated all of that in a way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was very interesting, this image. When I saw it, I also felt this like the fragmentation, or like to feel fragmented, and to and not, I mean, in the film you're not trying to put the pieces together, but more try to explore, as you said, like these spaces in between. Also, sometimes it's like if film could be a tool to uncover something or to provoke something. Did you, because I mean you seldomly or talked with your mother about these questions. How did you feel when you decided to do this and as a format of a film that you know that is going to be shown to other people, or it's not going to be just staying in this private, intimate space, but also like how was it for you?
I think I was trying not to think about it while doing it. I wanted to use the film to explore more the private kind of feelings or my relationship as a first stage. Because when I started the film, I wanted to have no plan and just discover the film throughout the process. So the only plan I had is film in a car with my mom and discuss about her past. And through the discovery of her past, in a way, I could create the film. So it was a lot of exploration in both what the film is and also how I feel about the film. And I think that's when the film kind of turned on me, because it wasn't just her story as an immigrant, but also the relationship between the son and the mother. So I think in the later process, I kind of thought of how to represent that accurately for an audience, in a way, and to be authentic to her experience and authentic to my experience, and not over dramatize something, but have this kind of bittersweet feeling that I was feeling throughout that, in a way.
So the first thing ever that you did, it was the ride with the car, or did
yes.
before? Okay.
Yeah, the car was the first thing, for sure.
And did you talk with your mother during the process of the film, like to like decide, or not decide with her, but to share with her like how the film would go, or?
Yes, I, like in the beginning of the process, I had this conscious decision of sharing the film with her, like having 50% of the control and 50% of giving the control, because I didn't know what I would find and how traumatic her memories would be. So I wanted her to control her narrative in a way, and to decide what she's ready to say and what not. So in the car ride, it would be 2 days of filming. And the first day she would talk about what she wanted to say. And the second day I would ask her things that she didn't know I would. So in that way, I would kind of relax her in the process. And as far as her feelings about her past in Beirut, it was very difficult to really just ask her through an interview. So I wanted, we both discussed in a more casual way without a camera of what happened and how she felt, and I wanted her to express it in Arabic in order to create this private space, because the crew was mostly UK crew, so they wouldn't understand what she's saying, and I could understand a bit. So she would speak to me in Arabic, which also gave an emotional aspect to it, because for her it was important. It wasn't just of her opening up about her past, but about It was more about her sharing her past with me. So that was what was her motivation in the film, in a way.
Yeah, now that you're saying about the language your mother talks, I mean, this is a film also about language and how language is connected to an emotional landscape. Like you have different, an ambience, a different landscape connected to each language, and your mother exists, a realm exists in 3 different languages that she connects to different parts, different memories. So yeah, how because memory is connected to language because you structure it not just in images but also in the way you create your own narratives. So yeah, if you could talk a bit like how you also structured the film in language, because at the end then you speak Arabic, like you also build up to it. How was it your connection to which language to use in each moment?
I think for me that was the clearest thing I had from the beginning in the film, because I always felt that language is connected with emotions in a big way. So I couldn't speak about my emotions that are connected with my Greek self by not speaking Greek, because that was the most natural way of expressing myself, and I still feel that. But I wanted to show, like, my connection with my mom is mostly in English, so that was the most authentic way of showing our connection. And in a way, I felt during the film, the languages should come in and out when I address my feelings to my mother, or I'm speaking like to myself in a way, or like thinking. But it was very important for my mom to speak in Arabic, because she's the last 35 years she's living in Greece. And she's mostly speaking English, Greek, Arabic. So I wanted her to, if she's speaking about her emotions about like during the war in Beirut, it had to be in Arabic, which was quite difficult for her because she isn't used to really express herself mostly in Arabic. It's mixed currently. So it was also a struggle for her to just speak clearly in Arabic, which is, it could be emotional as well in that way.
Okay. Thank you, Theo. I'm gonna change to the next person. And sorry. Yeah. Sorry, first time doing this. Okay. Elettra.
Okay, so maybe we can read it together. So I read it. The power of despair lies in the fact that it gives you a sense of your ability to compose a new human presence. It opposes by creative force to the destructive capacity of the winner. Despair can start creation all over again because it is able to find the necessary debris, the debris of the primary things, of the first elements of creation. And this strength, this impetuosity, reverses the roles, and the desperate finds himself in a position of strength. So it's an extract from interviews of Mahmoud Darwish, La Palestine comme métaphore. So I thought, yeah, this could kind of present the situation, one of the aspects of the despair that I found in many Palestinians, or in the tragedy that is happening there. so that this despair gives you still a force to take back the things that you know, the things that make you a human, and with these things you still go on and stronger than others, maybe than me. I thought yeah, because well, working with Hazem introduced me to, well, I knew already about the what's happening in Palestine and the occupation, but I kind of really fell into it, and I am completely absorbed now. And I thought there is still a big strength and a big hope in all the Palestinians. That is this trust in, I don't know, a collectiveness, a way that, yeah, that we will go through it and we will still be ourselves and integri. I don't know how to say. We will be not proud, but entire. Not even the situation is are many ruins everywhere. So it's kind of a text that gives me a lot of strength, because many times I'm really, very sad. So it's about, what happens in Gaza. It's about migration. It's about how people feel when they arrive in Europe, all the problems, bureaucracy, papers, never ending. It's a very long exile to your land, but also of internal exile that takes very long. I mean, I like to see that the migration is the point of the iceberg, the physical migration of people is, but what is under is so big and so long that that's how I would like to go on with the film, all this introspection of Hazem, of the way that he's doing, the way that I'm doing, to create a space where we can create something new together. So yeah, I think, I don't know if it makes sense for you guys.
For me, it makes sense that you are like despair can start creation all over again, because I mean, your film is structured with dreams, but it's also about dreams as in not just like the state that you get in, but also like a future, like a vision for the future of wanting, of desire, of like this impotence, impotency is something that is to become.
Yeah.
And of course it comes from within a very dark place, but sometimes in dark places, that's where dreams sometimes get more strong.
Mm-hmm.
And I want like to connect to the way you also build up the film. Like the images are very fluid, they're always changing, they're like very subjective, and like memories connect with dreams, like there's like this connectedness. And you also fictionalize dreams and memories, like you make not fictionalizing in reducing them to a fiction, but like to expanding them into ways. So if you can like comment a bit on how you structure the film. And
that's nice that you saw it. Because I also find myself that from all the material and all the hours that we film, because it seems like never ending. It's ongoing filming, and it ends up with a lot of hours. And when I do rush it, it feels like I'm really finding debris, actually. So I'm finding these little parts, and I don't know how to join them together and then maybe there is some audio that we recorded, and then they find their places in the film. All these little elements find their places. It's a lot of experimenting and just putting the things and see what comes out. And yeah, I also, this film is a story about Hazen, but it's a story, a collective story of many. So I didn't want to stop it to his story, and I want that there is no edges, kind of, and the to make it in sort that the imagination can go further, that maybe he died in that sea or maybe not, and it's this because many died and many didn't, and many feel this and many feel that. So it was a way for me to not give straight edges, but like give a kind of a space where the spectator can imagine himself, or what happened, what could have happened. Oh, is that how he felt, or maybe that's more. So
yeah, I felt it was a very liquid film, you know, like that it takes the shape that you also like put it in. So it's like the way you watch it and the openness to it, it also influences the way you see it, to the point like the work that you do with sounds is very interesting. And I don't know if you did this on purpose, but like when Azem is going down the staircase and you don't see him yet, and you hear the rollerblades, because you just saw images of war, it seems that it's a gun.
Yeah, exactly.
It was on purpose. Okay. Because for me, it was very shocking. It was very shocking that these associations that you make, the way your mind works, and also memory, you know, like memory is subjective. Sometimes you like have memories, but then that it does not relate to actually the facts. And that happens often. So that was very interesting also, this way that you fragmented memory.
Thank you, because you give me poles that I can hang to for going on. Thanks. So yeah, actually it's all it was experimentation. Sometimes with the editing you just put the things and then oh yeah, that makes sense, and it's not pre-thought. Actually, it's a lot of trying and error, a lot of error.
Thank you, Electra. I'm gonna pass to the next image.
Just one question. One question. How did you do all of these? There are so many strange, unsettling noises, and I think in the description of the film you wrote that it was him doing the noises. Like in the last segment with the trees, there are these kind of strange popping and rasping noises, which I found quite unsettling, but you don't know what it is.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you what it is.
It's not supposed to be bad, but somehow it makes you feel on the edge, and I found this very, very effective, also with the trees together, and it makes for a strange feeling.
So the noises, actually, it was I wanted to film something underwater, so I asked a GoPro, and I took a pan and put some water inside, and then with the GoPro I was in this pan doing like this, and touching the pan was and the cover of the GoPro and touching the pan was making these noises, actually. Experiment.
Nice.
Yeah, and then I also found the sound very, yeah, it was putting you somewhere else. Yeah, because the camera was in a pan. So, yeah.
So yeah, now I'm gonna go to Gerrit's text. Yeah, Gerrit. It's a lot of text, but you can.
Yeah, I can just tell it. although I might have put it more effectively in the text. Yeah, first, I get the link that you five got had a the video had a problem. At around the 16-minute mark, the sound begins from the beginning, and this was not supposed to happen. It was supposed to flow normally on. The version that is in the film festival is okay, but the version on Vimeo I sent you somehow had this weird glitch. I don't know what happened. I'm very sorry about it. I corrected it. If you want to go back and see the ending again, if you can do that now. I fixed it yesterday. Yeah. Joana, how should we do it? Should I tell the story, or?
I mean, you can tell the story because it relates very directly to your film. But I mean, this is on so people can read it while you talk, so it's fine. You don't need to exactly read it.
It was I moved to Berlin in 2014 for a year until the end of 2014, and yeah, this what I wrote down there is kind of one of the things that happened there, one of the more intense things. And when I wrote the script for the death of my mother, this was not something that I clearly referenced all of the time, but it kept up, it kept popping up again and again and again, just because I felt very strange. And the story goes like this. I moved to Berlin into a nice flat in Neukölln, maybe you know that kind of quarter of the city. Very hip part, and above me there lived a woman. She was called Tatiana, and I think she was Russian, and she had 2 daughters, and she would bring them to the kindergarten or to school. I think they were like 6 and 8, and they looked very special. She had long white hair, and they had long dark hair, and they were all braided into very tightly braided strings of hair. And one time they came down from the stairs, and I came up, and they all just looked at me like shocked. They were very retreated. And once she got her kids into the kindergarten, she often put on loud music in the morning. And I was an art student. I got to bed very late, and she put on music at 8 o'clock in the morning and began dancing, like go jumping up and down. And I just I woke up from that, and often I would go up to her and knock on her door and say, please, can you turn down the music, or maybe do it in the afternoon, and then it's okay because I'm not sleeping. And after a while, she just wouldn't come to the door anymore. She would go to the door, look through the small hole in it, and I could hear her steps, the creaking of the floor as she was approaching the door, but she wasn't responding anymore. She kind of, I don't know, it began to feel very strange. And then sometime in summer, me and my flatmates realized that her kids were gone. And we knew some other people in the house, and they said, yeah, it looks like the child services took them, because I think she had some problems with herself, maybe psychological, getting her life together. And this was in summer, and I heard her start crying more often. because she had the windows open sometimes, and sometimes she would begin to yell at the children playing in the courtyard of the house. And then she became very silent over the course of a few months, and I didn't hear much of her. No music, no crying. And then actually on New Year's Eve 2015, I got a call from my flatmate, and she said, "Gerrit, my key does not fit in the keyhole of our of our apartment door. There's a hole in our door, and what's going on?" It turns out that on the 24th of December, there was a fire in Tatjana's apartment, and she was okay, but the there was a hole in the roof. It burned through the roof, and the water pipes froze then and ruptured, and all of the water poured down for a week into our apartment. And we kind of wanted to know what happened to Tatjana, but nobody could really tell us. I didn't see her again after that. We just heard that through losing her kids to the child services, and because she was living of money from the government, she was forced to move into a smaller apartment. And I don't know what happened, but it just seemed too odd that on the 24th of December, when normally you are with your family, there would be a fire in her apartment. It felt very, very sad. And all of the time I wished I could somehow connect to her and somehow help her. But at that time I was also really isolated, and I felt her isolation very, very much. And I felt bad for not being able to help her, and I felt bad for not even being able to help myself. And all of this helplessness that is kind of freezing you. I think that's a feeling that I got into my film. Yeah.
Yeah, in the film is very strong how you have this sense of incapacity to communicate, but at the same time there's all these people that are listening to you, or they're aware of what you're doing, you know. That usually happens with neighbors, but then you have all these social constraints that disable you to like act upon. But then in the film you have one character that the neighbor, one of the neighbors, that tries to build this connection. And also you were commenting Electra's sound, but also in the way you structure the image with the sound. That image, the vision, like the sense of vision is the one that doesn't let you see, you know. It's like it's very the darkness is almost it just shows a bit, but then it's the sound that actually makes you see things and enter into other people's intimacy. And I mean, it's very connected to what you just said, that I mean, as neighbors you listen to what is happening and then you build this. So how did you work with this relation of sound that actually is the one that makes you enter into the film?
I guess I'm quite sensitive to noises, and I'm always listening to what's going on in every flat I had ever. And since I did the sound design myself, I knew how how all of these noises on the verge of where you can hear something, that they should appear. But actually, really, all of this was like a process. Like we filmed in color, and now the film has this very narrow aspect ratio, and we filmed it in 16:9. And only like in the editing, I was like, no, this is not right. This is not right. It has to be narrower. The walls have to be closer. And then a friend of mine who was helping me said, but you don't really have any color in this movie. It should be black and white. I was like, no. And then we tried it, and he was right. But the relationship between not seeing or seeing only a little bit, I guess this comes from it's some sort of extrapolation, I would say. Like you think there might be something, and then you extrapolate from that thought, and it becomes much bigger. That's at least something that happens to me often, and I think that's something that triggers paranoia oftentimes. You think there might be something, and then this thought grows so much that you make your mind sick because of it. And I guess this is one of the emotional fundaments of this film, I guess, this kind of paranoia feeling that all of the people are listening all of the time to you, and judging every step that you do. Yeah.
And how was it to write the film? Because I mean, it has very seldom, very little dialogue, but then it's also a dialogue that is also, it destructures your emotions even, like you have like voicemails, you have like someone, a neighbor talking in a very robotic way, like even the dialogue, even though it's about this very emotional state. I mean, this character is the mother in a very fragile state. All the dialogue is very mediated and very sterile in that sense.
Yeah. I guess. I guess I would call this something very German. It's like you are always planning, you're always estimating things, and also it's maybe unfair to call it a German thing, but it's definitely something that my father kind of gave to me, and I accepted it unwillingly, just because that's how you structure relationships, by appointments, by where the social boundaries are of things that are accepted. How much noise can you make in an apartment, and when would you call the police? All of these things have a very clear structure, I feel, in Germany. And also, oftentimes you do not mediate between the people, but you let a organization mediate between you and another person. So it becomes kind of a very safe way, and therefore a very unemotional way of dealing with other people. And yeah, at the same time, I feel like I'm doing that, and I don't want to do it, and it's a bad thing. Yeah, I think that's where the strange dialogue comes from, that people are not asking, how are you? They're just making up boundaries, making up categories, making up what you should do and what you are not supposed to do.
It's it's very interesting how all of your films not just only deal with memory, but with intimacy, as you were saying, in very different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Like intimacy regarding a family, intimacy regarding a state or an idea of nationality, for example, or an idea of identity, like how intimacy is built in these different spaces and in relation to these different ideas. We actually we don't the way you talked about your films were so interesting that actually we don't have that much time left, but I wanted to to ask a question to everybody, because I mean, so Green Years is a section that builds itself with films that are done mostly in school context, whether it's universities or more or schools that fall in a more alternative way to education. And your films are very different, not just in terms of formality, but also in terms of themes, even though they all some sort of way touch the concept of memory. And I wanted to know, like, as your school, and also you did different degrees of filmmaking and also like at different points in life, and also different schools that's like visual arts or like normal cinema, like, and how did the schools influenced your way of filmmaking, your approach to filmmaking? And also because some of you studied in a foreign country, and also that's interesting, like how being in a foreign environment also affects the way you perceive your way of doing films. Who wants to start?
I can start.
Which,
no?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me, because I did documentary directing, I think the university that I went to, Edinburgh College of Art, it kind of showed me how creative I can go with it. That you can literally do anything with the form. And it was pushing a lot about the director's vision in a way. And it was very interesting for me because I didn't have a background on film, and I was coming from Greece, because I could meet people from all over the world as they were all coming to the UK, and exchange ideas of perspectives and ways of viewing our environments, which was very different. And I think I really gained a lot from that in a way.
For me, it was what was interesting is the program itself, which is artist film, was exactly what I was looking for, that intersection between an art and film. So I wasn't looking for, a cinematic school or something more kind of formal. I wanted something that would bring in a very art kind of my art background and have that kind of space to really explore. So the program fit perfectly for what I was looking for. And it was, I think, exposure to other people's processes, exposure to an early stage. I wasn't used to sharing my process at such an early stage. So I felt very vulnerable at first because I felt like, okay, the idea is not ready. I don't, so just having these group crits with others and trusting yeah, having this trust amongst a group of people who can kind of have a look at your process, and where you expose that and you are able to get early feedback, so which also ideas start to stem from there, or kind of reactions give you, I mean, it's a bit, I thought, initially I thought it was a bit of a dangerous process, because you're still the idea is still very fragile, so anything can shake it, but at the same time, I think it made it, once you trust and you feel like you're in a group that you trust, it really, I think, was very productive in a sense, to share different stages of the process that you were going through. And mine kept changing because my ideas kept changing. but yeah, it just, I think it allows a lot of room for experimentation, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
To maybe connect to that, I guess what changed for me, or what was most influential for me, was also kind of this exposure to art. And what illustrates this very nicely, maybe also what Ginou said a little bit, is I talked to a cameraman some time ago, and we discussed how you should shoot things, or how you can shoot things, and he's like, all preparation, all preparation, all preparation. You have to have a script, and then everything has to be prepped for that. And I'm like, nah, no, I mean, you can do it like that, but if you just have your camera with you and you see this leaf, it's autumn, a leaf is there and the wind is blowing, and it's just this particular leaf doing this particular motion, and you just happen to be there, and you happen to capture it, and it's wonderful. You cannot prepare that. It's this particular moment. And many filmmakers, when they go to this normal film school, they can't even think of that. The cameraman was like, that's a completely new concept to me. And I guess this is what I learned mostly from art school. There are these special moments that, if you prep everything, if you have 15 people on set, you won't get these.
I can say something. I don't know about the school. I'm a little bit confused. I'm messing up because I'm changing school every year. No, but I had a little trouble finding a nice place. I don't know if I found it. I'm now in Ghent, in Casque. It's called Casque. We are not so many, and the master is in 2 years. And yeah, I didn't do the bachelor with them, and most of the people are speaking Flemish, which I don't speak. And so I don't know, I mostly work alone with my mentor, who is really nice. So this helps. But as the school, yeah, I wished maybe it was more team building, because sometimes it's good to have someone for sound, or to have feedbacks on editings. But it's a kind of a visual arts, so everybody is working kind of alone, and they had all the past of a cinema school, like camera, sound, and editing, and I didn't, because I came from graphic design. So I'm doing really a little bit my own way, and I don't really bind with people, but it's okay. There is a good cinema to watch the things all together, and yeah, there is a lot of possibilities. So for me, it's kind of stuck me, the school, because I think I have to do something for the school, and it's not the purpose of making a film. It's like you have to listen to yourself more than okay, the deadlines and these things. So sometimes I feel I do the films for the school and then the film is not good, you know. So yeah, I'm not really, I don't know about schools. I would like to be in a nice school, but I don't know if it exists.
And Mário?
The school where I studied, where I still study because I'm still finishing Lisbon Theatre and Film School, is a normal film school, as Joana said. And so I think my experience was a bit different from yours, because my school is completely the opposite to what Gerrit said. In my school, everything has to be very scripted. Everything is to be really well prepared. You have to think of everything before you go shoot the film. But of course, there are some space for improvisation, and there is some space to film that particular lift that Gerrit was talking about. I think our school is also a school with a very strong sense of tradition. There is related mainly to the Portuguese New Wave and to the filmmakers of the Portuguese New Wave. So we have that. Sorry.
For example, give some names.
António Reis, Paulo Rocha, for example.
Okay.
Manuel de Oliveira, maybe, but I think mainly António Reis. Those were some Portuguese filmmakers that started filming in the 60s. And some of the founders of my school were those filmmakers. So there really is this strong sense of tradition. And we are very linked to a particular way of making films. But there is also a really open and creative space. So you are free to make a film about anything, about everything you want. But there is this form of working that they prioritize because of this sense of tradition. But I think my experience in the school was a very nice experience, and I really liked it because we have so many different people that want to make something really different. Everyone wants to make different things, but then we have this same context and this same framing of work for all of us. And we also have like really people study different areas. Like there are some people in my school that are only studying image, others are only studying sound, others are only studying directing. So when we came up to the projects, we have like really structured crews where everyone has their particular task. And so I think it's a bit different from your experience. But I think it's important for the way I want to make films.
And you still manage to do one.
Sorry?
You still manage to do a wonderful documentary with many uncontrolled things.
Yeah, thank you.
So
Yeah,
maybe
I would no, I would just like to say that the reason why the documentary is so important in my school, it's because of the thing I was talking about, because everything is always so structured and so planned that we have to have a different experience where we can improvise more and have less means and try to make something out of the box to what we are used to do there. So although my documentary is well structured and everything was planned before we went to shoot it, there was more space for improvisation and to try new ways of filming and making things. And that's why I think it was so important for me to film Rio Torto.
Yeah, just we don't have much time left. I wanted to maybe round up with a question that Mário, you also saying like that, like, so you're now in a moment where you did these films are starting to be shown, and I wanted to maybe ask you, like, how do you see your near future? Like, how do you have new projects? Are you thinking about continuing to study, to explore different languages? Yeah, now seeing like what do you think the near future is gonna, in a very special context? But yeah.
I got some script funding in the middle of the year, and from the German local federal government. There's quite a generous and big film fund here. They're interested in setting up. I'm in southwestern Germany, and they try to set up like a stronger film economy here. So there's a lot of money going around here. Also because everybody in Germany wants to go to Berlin. Nobody wants to stay in the south because it's not cool here. It's not cool here. So I got some funding to write a script, and I completed the script now. And exactly in 1 week from now, we will apply for production funding, which is why right now we're doing storyboards, we're doing test animation. It's going to be an animated short, and everything, the whole team is going haywire right now. So not so much sleep, but it's looking quite good. Maybe we get the money, and then we will have a proper production by the middle of next year, and that would be nice.
Congratulations for the funding.
Thanks.
About about me, I'm going on filming and editing, and yeah, it's a good period to edit because we are almost in lockdown here in Belgium. So I had COVID also. So it's okay. It's past, and yeah, it's just going on like this, editing and struggling. Yeah.
I've been now I'm in the US, like I said before we went live. So I'm in the suburbs in the US and in the Northeast, and finding myself again where I was when I left during the war, because we came to this town. This is where my parents are now. And so now my relationship to Lebanon again it brings up a lot of the same sort of things that I was dealing with. I'm in the same town that I haven't been in for over 20 years. Can't really go back to Beirut at the moment. So there's a lot of questions around this that I'm exploring again about being here. And I'm just, filming my presence here. I'm gathering things. So it's for me, it's a period of incubation, I think, of ideas, of material. So it's in that pre project stage. So I have some ideas, which I won't mention because it's too early, but hopefully I'd like to go back to Beirut. And this is where I feel that it makes sense for me to where the stories are anyway, that I would like to explore. So it's in that in between space between these two places.
I had the question maybe for everyone, because I'm thinking, how do you know when your project is finished, or what is it that even you did a short film or you finished something, is it easy to let it go for you?
Sometimes it's just time constraints. You have deadlines, that make it finish. I think there's always more to do, but you get to a point where your energy for that particular project runs out, at least for me. Sometimes it comes back later, but yeah, that's how I know.
Okay.
Yeah, I think for me too, it's about energy at the end of the day, because for me I think it's easier to let go because I'm exhausted by it. So I say, okay, I'm done now, and it's okay, it's good enough in my mind, and I just let it go, and I go to something new just to refresh my mind a bit.
Mm-mm.
I think for me, it's mainly the deadlines. I never feel like the project is finished, but I have to to deliver it. So that's when I know.
Mm-hmm. Because doing documentary is always strange when you have to finish and then you have to find something else, and what's the next interesting things to do. I don't know. I'm struggling with that.
Do you work in different projects at the same time? So as Theo was saying, to like, okay, I'm gonna like ease my mind from this one, and then like, or do you stuck with one, and then?
I'm stuck with one, but maybe I should. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Did we lose Gino?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we need to finish. I don't know if any of you has any commentary or question for the others, as Elettra had.
I wanted to ask Mario, did you shoot analog? I forgot.
What?
Did you shoot on digital or analog?
No, it's digital. It's digital.
Oh, because you showed these pictures and they were analog.
No, the pictures I showed are, yeah, they're analog, but the film is digital. It's a very small production. We couldn't use film.
Would you like to sometime?
Of course. I would love to.
Here it is.
Hello, Gino.
Sorry, I got disconnected.
Yeah, I was just asking if anyone had any more commentaries or questions to the others. No? Okay. We have run out of time. Thank you so much for joining us in this conversation. It was really nice to be with you. Even though if it's in these little squares, at least we are together. And it's also very nice to see the faces of the people that, of the films that we show. Thank you so much. And yeah, enjoy. I hope you enjoy Doclisboa as you can the next few days, that we have stuff online. And then, yeah, maybe see you next year.
Okay.
Having.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much.
much. Bye.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.